Hello everyone. Today I would like to read out the third chapter titled The Prison from my manuscript, The Imprisonment. This is a fictional story created for awareness and storytelling. It does not promote or justify any form of crime or harmful activity. Viewer discretion is advised. I'll read out the story. The next morning at around 5:30 a.m., Darshan and Archana woke up not to the soft sound of their alarm clock, but to the sharp blast of a bugle from the prison nearby. The sound tore through the quiet of the guest house, replacing comfort with command. Instinctively, they pressed pillows over their ears, but the note lingered, cutting through the walls and into their sleep. The prison had announced the day before they were ready to receive it. Outside, the guest house garden shimmered in the early light. Dew clung to the petals, and the faint scent of flowers drifted through the open window. Yet, barely a kilometer away, across the stretch of the guarded land, the prison stood heavy and still. Its high concrete walls swallowed the dawn as though sunlight hesitated before crossing them. To the outside world, the inmates within those walls were untouchables of a dark realm, kept at a distance because of the crimes they had committed, feared because of the power their actions once held over the society. They were known as sellers of fears. Few paused to consider the human lives sealed behind the iron gates. By the time the echo of the bugle faded, the siblings were fully awake. They dressed quietly and met at the breakfast table. Darshan Bhaiya, I'm not keen on visiting the prison and the prisoners, Archana said, stirring her coffee without looking up. If you want to understand that world, you will need permission to see it properly, Darshan replied evenly. That is where you will find a story. Why are you pushing me towards it? She asked. I'm scared even to enter that space. It's getting late, he said gently, rising from his chair. I have to go now. If you feel uncomfortable, you can stay here or explore the city. Darshan chose to walk to the prison, wanting to familiarize himself with the surrounding. The streets were slowly awakening. Small shops were opening their shutters. A few beggars sat quietly at the corners, wrapped in worn shawls. Life outside moved with ordinary rhythm. Then the prison walls rose ahead of him, tall, stained with age, lined with barbed wires that caught the early light. A narrow iron gate marked the restricted entrance. Two armed guards stood watch, their expressions unreadable. After presenting his entry, Darshan stepped inside. The change in the atmosphere was immediate. The air felt thick, a mix of dust, dampness, and an acrid odor that reminded him of a neglected laboratory. The corridors were dim, the cement walls chipped and stained. Because of upcoming renovation, prisoners had been shifted into fewer sections, making the cell visibly overcrowded. Through the security cameras, he saw cramped spaces meant for one person now holding many. Bodies occupied every corner. Men sat pressed against one another, their belongings confined to small bundles at their feet. A tightening rose in his chest. The jailer greeted him and began showing him around. As they walked through the inner blocks, the sound of footsteps echoed against the concrete. Some prisoners glanced up, others remained motionless. How can they live like this? Darshan asked quietly, observing a cell where man could barely stretch their legs. The jailer's tone was firm. These worms deserve no better. Considering their crimes, this is more than enough. They are meant to suffer. Darshan paused, absorbing the words. Every person, he replied calmly, has the right to clean air and basic dignity, whatever their crime may be. The jailer did not respond. His word and Darshan's were shaped by different convictions. They continued the inspection. Restrooms were poorly maintained, ventilation inadequate, drainage neglected. Darshan made mental notes, structural flaws, sanitation gaps, spatial inefficiencies. Reform, he believed, must begin with environment. Eventually, as they approached another wing of the prison, Darshan noticed something strikingly different. The corridor ahead was bright. The walls were freshly whitewashed. The floors were polished. Two spacious cells stood separated by a wide passage. Through the bars, he could see clean bedding, a television set, tidy restrooms. Even a flower was filled with carnations placed carefully on a side table. What is this section? He asked. It's reserved for high profile inmates, the jailer replied. Currently vacant, prepared in advance. Darshan stepped inside one of the cells. The air was fresh here. The unpleasant odor from rest of the prison did not reach this wing. He stood silently, absorbing the contrast. Within the same compound, the same guarded land, dignity existed in one corner and suffocation in another. Crime, he thought, does not change its nature based on status, yet the comfort provided does. As he walked back towards the exit, the weight of what he had seen settled heavily within him. Outside the prison walls, life continued as before. The beggars remained at their corners. Vendors sold vada pav and puri bhaji, their aromas drifting through the air. But Darshan barely noticed. Acres of land were devoted to confinement. If crime could be addressed at its roots, he wondered, could these spaces serve a different purpose? Homes instead of cells. Perhaps a crime free world is an aspiration, not a certainty. Yet every reform begins as an idea, and ideas are first born in stories before they take shape in reality. He walked back towards the guest house, mind filled with plans, not only of architecture but of possibility. He was an architect by profession. But that morning, he felt responsible for something larger than buildings. He felt responsible for designing spaces where even those who had fallen could begin again. That's all for the day. Do let me know your thoughts about this chapter by writing in the comments section. Thanks for watching and thanks for your time.